Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. It is November 21st. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioners Kavanian,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Chairperson Deaver.
Here.
For the record, Commissioner Derhovanesian and Commissioner Sharikian are not present.
Next item.
Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of meeting minutes from October 31st, 2013.
I will move the minutes.
I will second.
Roll call.
Commissioners Kavanian,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver.
Yes. Next item.
Item 3, introductions and presentations. At 3A, Library Arts and Culture events presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you again. Give you a few items that are coming up at the library. Otto the Book Bear is still living in Montrose. He's on Honolulu Avenue between Verdugo and the Montrose Library. You can view a storybook kind of in pieces along that half-mile walk. That goes through the end of this month, through the end of November. There's even a vote, which is your favorite, cartoon bear. So you can stop by the library or send us a post on Facebook, and we'll add your choice to that. Tonight, November 21, The Aviary. This is a book by a Glendale author, Kathleen Odell. She's going to be at the Central Library, and this is our children's One Book, One Glendale event. Every year we get a packed house. Kids get to meet an author and have a little fun. Upcoming events: Glendale College Chamber Music Ensembles will be at the Central Library on Tuesday, December 10 in the evening. This is normally a concert that they might put on in one of their real small rooms above the auditorium, so hardly anybody could go. We're very happy to open up our doors to them, and they had a good time last semester, so they'll be back. We have I think a real interesting author, Lee Gale Gruen, is coming December 11th. She's going to talk about reinventing yourself in your senior years. Her father, elderly, diagnosed with some Alzheimer's, and she took him to an acting class. And she actually started writing one-act plays and has developed this into acting for seniors with their adult kids. So it was a great way at the time for her to reconnect with her dad, and she became an actress. She's done commercials and so forth, but I think what she's really going to talk about is connecting with your folks at any age. Certainly when you're a senior, you can still connect with your parents. Great looking program on December 12. Well, that's a busy week. The challenges facing Armenian artists and writers in diaspora. We have on the bottom, the moderator will be Maria Armudian. She's an author. She has a syndicated radio show. She's going to moderate a panel with, from left to right, Vahe Berberian. He's an actor, playwright, a painter, and a founder of the Armenian Experimental Theater. Second in line, there's Aras Janigian, very well-known writer, Bloodvine, Riverbig, This Angelic Land. Next is Ara Oshagan. He's local, he's a photographer. And finally, Lori Tatulian. She's an actress and a playwright and is really working on one-woman comedy shows. So they're going to talk about the challenges facing Armenian artists. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a good show. Brand 42, Works on Paper. That's Brand Library's annual national juried exhibition. That's going to go on, finally, at Brand Library, May 17 through June 20th in 2014. What we need to get the word out about is that the submissions for that exhibition are due on January 6th. You can go to brandlibrary.org. And you can look at the prospectus, download it, download the entry form. You may know that we just had, we closed the submissions for the, call that, the artist submissions and curators.
Call for artists and guest curators.
We had almost 200. Thank you, staff. Yeah, thank you. We had almost 200 entries, so we hope to get a lot more for this. Jack Rutberg, he's a gallery owner in Los Angeles. He's going to be the juror for this. So, again, January 6th is the date. So we put up the website yesterday. We're starting to send things out. The mailings will start next week, but there's a lot of activity already on our Facebook page. There's some pictures of Brand Library. Not too long ago, there's a fence there in front of it, but what was really remarkable was just how pretty the thing is, even with the fence. The lights, and only half of them are on, going up. This is the traditional front steps to the building. It's really great looking. And some more interior photos. On the left side, you'll see a pedestal that was uncovered. That little cubicle, nobody knew was there. They pulled the wood off, and there was a pedestal where they think this statue used to sit. The place looks great. The library has taken ownership of the building. So now we've got to finish the inside. We've got to move books in, but computer connections, desks, things like that in there. And here actually is the new front door of the library. Of course, on the left you'll recognize the gallery doors, but the new front entrance to the library will be on that parking lot side on the right, where that little sign is hanging. You can go to any part of the library from there. And again, an interesting view that nobody's ever seen. A lot more concrete. There'll be a lot more greenery, but this is, again, from the parking lot. Finally, save the date. Chris Bojalian is our 2014 One Book, One Glendale author. He's going to be here. That's a mistake. It should be February 27th. It's a Thursday. He's going to talk about his book, The Sandcastle Girls. We are so happy to get him for this annual event. And we're going to put that on the main floor of the Central Library. So that should be a lot of fun. Again, we have a website. We have Facebook. We're really busy on Twitter. We've got a half dozen people sending tweets out constantly. So if you know anybody who's on Twitter, recommend that they take a look at the library site and get themselves on there and get our information. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next item.
Item 4, oral communications.
And we don't have any cards under this particular item. It's next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A, action items. At 1, review request to co-sponsor a Day of Art, History, and Culture event.
Before you is a request from Forest Lawn and the Commission on the Status of Women for the Arts and Culture Commission to co-sponsor a Day of Art, History, and Culture event. I'm happy to introduce Joan Aiden, the museum director for Forest Lawn, as well as Teresa Alexanian with the Community Services and Parks Department. They're going to tell you a little bit more about this exhibition and why this is a great fit for something for the Commission to partner.
Hi, hello. I first wanted to give a little history of the museum. The Forest Lawn Museum sits on the highest point in Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Glendale. It's been there since 1952. And at that time, Hubert Eaton, the founder, would either purchase or donate items to the museum, bring art to our community. We still have some of those items on exhibit in two of our permanent galleries. One of them is the famous painting by William Bouguereau, Song of the Angels. We also have a moai from the Easter Island. We have a Bronco buster. We have many bronzes, one of them being the Bronco buster by Frederick Remington. We also have 3 different exhibits a year that rotate. Right now we have LA Woman yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It opened September 7th, and it's going to be on exhibit until January 5th of next year. It features women artists from yesterday who are no longer with us, one of them being all of them very famous. June Wayne, one of them. Another yesterday women artist, Joyce Waldtreman. Claire Falkenstein. And then we have very famous today women artists who are with us. And one is Ruth Weisberg, who is a professor of art at USC. She was former dean of art. Judy Chicago, you may know of her. She's a very famous artist, feminist art. She made a huge impact in LA. Ophelia Esparza, who's a today artist, and she's known throughout Los Angeles for her Dia de los Muertos ofrendas, or altars. And also she's a painter. Margaret Lazari, who's also a professor at USC. There's many more. These are just a few. And Artist Lane, very famous. Inez Johnston. Patty Wickman, who's also a professor of art at UCLA. Marissa Mandler is one of the Tomorrow artists, up and coming. Sonia Romero, another Tomorrow artist. But really what we want and we're asking for is to be for the Commission of Arts and Culture to be a co-sponsor for this day, December 7th, the Day of Art, History, and Culture. We're going to start the morning with a red carpet, with the artists walking the red carpet and being interviewed by the press. There'll be a reception along with various vendors. And then at 2 o'clock, we'll have a panel discussion that will feature artists Ruth Weisberg, Margaret Lazari, State Senator Carol Liu, and art historian Karen Schiffman. The panel will be moderated by the well-known independent producer Suzanne De Laurentiis. We think this is a really huge opportunity to elevate the status of women as well as the art in our community, and that's what I have to say.
Good afternoon, Chair Deaver, members of the Commission. My name is Teresa Alexanian with Community Services and Parks and staff to the Commission on the Status of Women. I'm here today on behalf of the Commission and Chair Miller, sorry she couldn't be here herself today, to speak about the Commission's involvement in this event. Just want to quickly read you the mission of the Commission on the Status of Women to be able to tie in how this event fits in with the Commission. The mission of the Commission on the Status of Women is to advance social justice and equity and ensure equality of rights and opportunities for all women and girls in Glendale by building new and strengthening existing bridges between the city's diverse groups, organizations, agencies, and individuals, by increasing the level of knowledge in the community regarding women's issues and the status of women in our community, by encouraging and promoting participation, and by increasing visibility of women in all spheres of life in Glendale. A couple of the values that the Commission has and works by is equality, fairness, empowerment, and collaboration. Based on these values, the Commission makes a commitment to the women in Glendale and women in general, and of course to organizations like Forest Lawn who are in Glendale. A recent article in the LA Times titled "LACMA Mocha Fall Behind in Giving Female Artists a Solo Platform," which was dated July 11th, 2013, talks about the low number of solo shows by women compared to men in the Los Angeles County Museum of Art and the Museum of Contemporary Art. And it stated in that article that in the last 5 years, going back from January 2008 to December 2012, looking at solo shows at both art museums, the rate for women was 28% at MoCA and 18% at LACMA. It also further goes in to identify that at the Getty Museum's Department of Photography from 2008 to 2012, 83% of the solo exhibitions there examined the work of male photographers compared to women. The Commission is supporting this event because it will help raise awareness and promote the event happening in our community. Each month, and this came about because each month the Commission has a theme, and July was celebrating artistic expression, and Jonah Dan was at our Commission meeting to talk about the LA exhibit. And so when this event came up after that meeting, it seemed like a perfect fit to help raise awareness for women artists and, of course, help Forest Lawn in promoting the event. So the Commission invites the Arts and Culture Commission to join us in promoting and helping raise awareness for women and artists in Glendale.
Thank you. And before I open it up to Commissioner questions and comments, I just want to note that I had been contacted by the Commission on the Status of Women a couple months ago as they were just starting to explore how they might want to enact their theme and realized that, they didn't want to do that without the participation of the arts community in some way. And so over the past month, I've attended a couple of meetings on a planning basis, so have an idea what's going on, been giving some input, but I think having the opportunity for the Commission to be a formal sponsor on this event and helping to get the word out to artists and identify some artists as part of the vendors and such would be a really great opportunity for us. And also just the idea of partnering with our other commissions here in Glendale is something that I really hope to promote in the future. And of course, supporting our female artists out there that are often underrepresented for years and continue to be into the future. So bringing some attention to this, I think, is important to me personally, but wanted to bring this before the Commission for other comments, questions, and potentially approval of co-sponsorship.
Before I approve the co-sponsorship of this event, what I wanted to say was that I think it's actually even beyond just women artists that are underappreciated. I think that the Glendale Forest Lawn Museum is very underappreciated. For as successful as it is, it can be so much more successful. And I think this is kind of like a lot of birds with one stone, to put it in some kind of funny phrase. So I will go ahead and move approval for the item.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Commissioners Kavanian,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver.
Yes. Thank you. Next item?
Item 5A, at 2, consultant selection process. At 8, note and file the report regarding the consultant artist selection process. At B, approve commissioner appointment to selection committees.
Thank you. There's two parts to this report. At the last month's meeting, the Commission requested just an overview on the process for selecting artists and consultants to implement the projects and programs in the work plan. So the first part of this I'll review that process, and it's a note and file item. And then the second portion is to nominate commissioners to sit on the selection process for each of these. So the selection process for consultants and artists is pretty standard throughout the city. And what I've done is I've just shown you the sequence of how things happen in relation to the Commission. The first step is Commission approval of the scope of work as well as the RFP for that specific project, which we've done. And as soon as we get Council approval of that RFP, we can begin to issue the RFP. We generally promote these opportunities for at least 1 month, and after the proposal submission period is over, the selection committee will convene and they'll review all of the submissions. The role of the committee is to make a recommendation to the Commission for the most qualified consultant. So the committee will really go through all of that, and they make that recommendation to the Commission. And at that meeting, the staff will present the committee's recommendation, and we'll also ask the recommended consultant or the most qualified consultant to come and just give an overview as to how they envision implementing the program. at the commission meeting, and that at that point the step would be for the commission to recommend to the council to select that consultant, and once the council approves, then we can begin to work with the consultant to implement the program. Process is very similar with artist selection. We have some projects that it's going to be run by a consultant, and others, such as the murals on utility boxes, is just going to be a process for call for artists. Again, after the commission approves the scope of work for the call for artists, and once we get council approval, we can issue the call for artists, and once the submission period is over, the selection committee will convene to review the submissions, and the committee will make a selection of the most qualified artists, or the artists that best understand the vision that the commission has set forth for that specific project, and we would make that recommendation to the commission for recommendation for the council. There's a few recommendation processes to go through, but it'll happen pretty quickly, but the commission would be able to review that before making that final recommendation to the council. The consultant role, I know we discussed this a little bit, but ultimately the consultant's role is to serve as a partner to the commission and assist in implementing the commission's vision for the arts. The commission has created a vision through the strategic plan as well as through the work plan, and the consultant's job is to work with the commission and the commission staff to implement that vision. The consultant is required to provide periodic updates to the commission. This is something we tied into the scope of work, and these could be either through a memo or through a presentation. You know, we've requested certain types of information, and as necessary, we will bring that to the commission's attention, so you know what's happening with these projects and programs. And as a commission staff, the staff would be responsible for oversight of the professional services agreement, which is the contract with the consultant, and just oversee the consultant to make sure everything is moving along just fine. The responsibility of the selection committee is really to make the recommendation to the commission on the best qualified consultant or artist based on the scope that the commission as a body established. So we've already been through that large step in really setting the requirements for the consultant as well as the vision for the project. And the selection committee for each work plan project would consist of an arts and culture commissioner, arts and culture staff, and other city staff as necessary. And this is where we come to just the action item of the report. My recommendation, staff's recommendation, is for those of you who are here is to state your preference for the two committees for which you'd like to serve, and then we can move on to formal nomination process. I understand that we have two commissioners missing, but based on your preferences and your best judgment, we can also proceed with a nomination and move to approve. To simplify, I've written out all of the work plan projects that would require the selection committee to meet. Just to reiterate, some of these are going to be selecting a consultant, and some will be selecting artists. If you want, I can quickly go through. The event management firm is selecting a consultant. Performance art series is selecting artists. Art and vacant storefronts and temporary exhibitions and public spaces are both going to be selecting two different consultants. Murals on utility boxes and the murals on public property, those are also artists, not consultants. So that concludes my presentation, and so at this point I will turn it over to the commission. So please state your preference for which committee you like to serve on. There's 6, and then there's 5 of you. So if there's a very ambitious commissioner, you can select 2 that you'd like to serve on.
I think we're kind of in a bind today, aren't we? We're kind of crippled in terms of the numbers of us, so that we could kind of fight over. I know all of us want to do all of them, but I mean, from my perspective, I mean, I'm an expert in one of those things, possibly two, which would be the event management firm and the performance art series, and that's about all I can do. That's all I would trust myself in doing. The other ones, I mean, I would have no problems. However, I'm not I don't know. In my own mind, I wouldn't be the number one choice for that. So
Those are your preferences on...
yeah,
Yeah.
those are. I think that is what's fair. Although I think it'd be fun to be on the murals on utility boxes. I think that would just be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So you have my preferences. I guess I gave 3 at this point, but since we're missing two of our colleagues, and they're not really preferences. I don't really mind where I'm placed as long as staff is comfortable and my colleagues are comfortable in terms of who's getting what responsibilities. I'm very flexible.
So what would be your top 2, just to keep it simple?
I don't
and
know.
easy?
Performance art series obviously would be the first choice. I'm not entirely sure. The second one, it would be a split. It would between event management firm and murals on utility boxes.
Okay.
Just to keep things interesting in my life.
Commissioner Lee?
Well, I'm very good at event management firm, but since
Oh, it doesn't matter.
no, that's okay. That's okay.
Again, I'm completely flexible. So there's the performance art, not so much, but the other two is however staff feels comfortable, my colleagues feel comfortable.
And we could have 2 commissioners on any of these, so don't, so
Yes,
should we just
could
state what your interests...
Yeah, just state what your interests are. I'm writing these down, and then I can, reiterate and say there's only one for this one, or none for this, or too many, and then we can, try and deliberate. So just let me know what your top 2 choices are, and we can go from there.
Oh, okay. And then murals on public property. I do have a close friend who heads up the Mural Conservancy, so I can get advice and how to move on that.
Great. Chair Deaver?
I would say the temporary art exhibitions in public spaces and the murals on public property as well would be my 2 preferences. But also, if we get an underdog, I could also be flexible as well. So can we nominate commissioners that are not present based on our knowledge of their expressed interest in the past?
Chair Deaver and commissioners, you can, but it would be subject to their acceptance.
It's all going to be subject anyway because we're going to have a bunch of blanks, right? So we're going to have to revisit this. So given that, I would nominate Commissioner Derhavanassian to the art in vacant storefronts. I'm going to throw that one out there.
Where is Commissioner Gregorian when you need him? He would have been right on that one.
Are there any other nominations for Commissioner Sharikian or Derhavanassian?
Well, since they can decline, it's just in terms of process, since not everybody is here, if we don't have a nomination for everybody, does this have to be tabled until the next meeting, or can it just happen without a formal approval of a slate?
Certainly can be brought back for December's meeting as well.
Okay. Then what I would say is that at this point we need to table it because I don't want to be assigning people and then having to change it in December anyway, with the exception that those that are here today, I think, get top priority pick.
What we could do is, I'm trying to think what's moving forward, since you've, the 2 mural projects we have not, I haven't brought forward the scope of work, so if you want to wait to assign, we could do that when I bring forward the scope of work, the RFP. You can select the selection committee at that point, but that leaves event management firm, which I think we have 2 interested commissioners in that, but potentially there could be more interest. So it is difficult to make these decisions when other commissioners are not here. But the performance art series, I think that's something that we'll quickly need to make decisions on, and the 2 temporary art exhibition programs or something that you could vote on. But if you'd like to, just you've stated your preference, we can staff can just bring this back for discussion at next month's meeting with the with your preferences. And if you'd like to make a nomination, I can bring it forward. And if the commission wants to discuss it, then they can. If nobody has a problem with what they've been assigned, then it's a move and approve item. Is that something we could do too? Is make the nominations, and there are no questions at next month's meeting, then it's approved?
Again, it would be subject to, the absent commissioner's acceptance.
Question, in terms of the timing, there's nothing, or correct me, assuming that we have a meeting in December, and everybody's available for that, is there anything that is going to be going out where we would have to have people on before our next December or January meeting?
We won't need to have the selection committee in place. I think definitely if we can get it approved in December, because I think by January, once the council approves, should they approve some of the RFPs, we can begin to issue those call for artists and the RFP as early as December, and then we want to give a month, and then we would need to convene in January. So it's just a matter of how quickly the commission wants to implement some of these projects. So if we don't make a decision in December, then it just pushes the implementation of these projects yet another month. But we can schedule it for December, and if there are additional absences, then we push it to January.
Let's. My preference would be to go ahead and fill in the slate as we've spoken it here in terms of our sort of self-nominations and nominations of those that are not present, and start with that in December, and just revisit it when hopefully we have a full.
I actually tend to agree with that. If we have some kind of like a matrix system where everything is, kind of placed out that way, then it becomes a simple matter of elimination at that point to see what is there and what is not, and what spots are available.
Okay. So far, I have your preferences, and I can, put this in some sort of a matrix or a chart that makes sense. If the commission wants to go ahead and nominate the other commissioners, just in case if they're going to accept their nomination where they're placed, you can do that, or we can just wait until next meeting to have a discussion.
I feel like it opens us up to discussion either way.
Okay.
And so rather than be presumptive about people's particular interest or expertise that I may not be as familiar with, I think I prefer to go ahead and table it till December. I'm seeing nodding heads. Yeah. Let's do that.
I move to table the item 2B till next month, till December.
I second that.
Roll call.
Commissioner Skavanian?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver?
Yes. Next item.
And do we have to still? I'm sorry. Do we still have to move item 2A as well? The note and file. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Commissioner Kavanian.
I remembered. First of all, I went to the book sale of the Brand Associates on last Saturday, where I saw Commissioner Deaver, and I basically picked out some classical CDs for her. It was great. I bought I think I bought $20 worth of stuff, and I literally couldn't carry it out the door. Great finds. I suggest anyone who's interested in buying books should be going to these book sales, because there's phenomenal stuff for literally nothing. I mean, it's $1 or $2, and I was a happy camper. I was like a kid in a candy store, just running around, just like looking at CDs, going, I have that one. Not a big fan of that guy, and so it was really fun. Second item, I just want to simply mention that the Lark Musical Society is putting on a fundraiser actually this Sunday. I will be playing there. One of the faculty members there has arranged Wagner's Ride of the Valkyrie for 7 pianists and 1 piano. So it's it's kind of a disaster at this, but it's really, really fun. We push and shove each other all over the place. It's at the Jonathan Club. To find out how to purchase tickets for that, you can contact the Lark Musical Society. I don't have their number off, and I don't remember what it is, but I'm sure you can find it online if you just search that Lark Musical Society.
Commissioner Lee?
There's a lot of tree lighting ceremonies coming up, so hopefully everybody can make it to enjoy all the different Christmas trees all over the city.
Commissioner Kavanian?
I remembered another one. I also wanted to applaud the GYA for their fantastic exhibition, and our former colleague Razmik Gregorian, who was the curator for that. He was very, very excited to be given that opportunity to curate, and he did a fantastic job, and it was a very successful event from what I hear. I think I'm done now. I can't think of anything else.
Next item.
Item 7, written communications.
And we have none. So, in wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and we shall adjourn.